The end of this month, some of the world's greatest amateur fighters will get together to fight to find out who's the best. But what does it all mean? Where's it happening and what's it all about? That's what we're going to explain. I'm Joel Rasmussen from Southern Cross Combat. I am joined by the great Danielle Drop Bear Curtis. Danielle, thank you for joining me.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Of course, we are doing a little bit of a not so much a retrospective. I feel like retrospective is the wrong word. A little bit of a crash course in what I would title, and I think you would probably maybe have a similar title for amateur world tournaments.
Yeah, correct. I would say the Olympics for MMA. There's
Yes.
two versions, but that's essentially, yeah, what they are.
Yes. So over your time covering the sport, and you participating in the sport, me covering the sport, and those people watching the sport and watching our great content, a couple of acronyms will have popped off. Everyone knows, your UFC acronym, your PFL acronym. One's not really an acronym. But there are two acronyms that pop up that people might not be as familiar with. You did some absolutely fantastic coverage of, I think, both of these events. I did some posts about Gamma that was earlier this year, the GAMMA, and the IMMAF, the IMMAF, which are two of the biggest amateur tournaments in the world.
Yeah, well, one of them is purely amateur, one is a pro-am, and that's pretty much the only thing that is the difference between them. I guess we should probably start by explaining the acronyms. I'll let you take it away for IMAF and I'll do Gamma.
Yes, so IMMAF is the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation. They were formed in 2012.
And Gamma, conversely, the Global Association of Mixed Martial Arts, and I believe they were founded in 2019. So, two amazing opportunities for amateurs, particularly, but also pros for Gamma in terms of international fight experience and, yeah, world championships, titles,
Uh,
gold medals.
if Gold medals, world titles, more experience, and a thing that IMAF was formed to do, I believe Gamma was formed to do, in a world of professional mixed martial arts. It's prize fighting. You're fighting for money. People are fighting for glory and all that stuff. And especially because MMA has kind of been a bit of like a counterculture, a bit of an alternative sport. Uh, IMAF, and if I'm not mistaken, Gamma were mainly formed to seek Olympic recognition.
Correct. To try and get the sport of MMA into the Olympics, both tournaments essentially providing the same thing with the same goal of just trying to get the sport into the Olympics, both taking a similar but slightly different approach with IMAF taking the traditional approach, very similar to boxing, where we're looking at only amateurs being able to compete in the Olympics. So basically, taking the format that boxing already has, that existing platform, we know it works. We know the Olympic Committee will utilize it. So they went with all amateurs, same kind of tournament format, same day weigh in, protective gear. And then when Gamma came along, they also wanted to get into the Olympics, but they wanted to do it more similar to what Muay Thai is trying to do, which is just send your best people, amateurs and pros, and they all compete under the same amateur rule set, the same protective gear. So essentially, the actual format is exactly the same between Gamma and IMAF, exactly the same. Protective gear, shin guards, the bigger gloves, and obviously amateur rule set, no elbows, no heel hooks or twisters or anything like that. And yeah, weighing in every day, competing over a tournament format. They both do that the same. Obviously, with Gamma having ties or did have ties to one, they also had some random hydration testing as well. But that's probably the only difference between the two is the fact that Gamma has both professionals and amateurs, and IMAF are purely amateurs.
Uh, Along with we're really talking from a world perspective and the world tournament, the world games. This video will be, it's a general crash course on everything, as well as a little bit of a look into the IMMAF World Games, which are coming up at the end of the month, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But both promotions have regional tournaments where the world is cut up into different sections, and that's like a whole region. It's not just like just Australian. It'll be the Oceanic, both for IMMAF and for GAMMA. In fact, if you go to the GAMMA website and you look at the Oceanic MMA Championships 2023, you will find a very familiar face on the poster. You will find Miss Danielle Drop Bear Curtis used as the promotional. If you're trying to sell tickets, you put Danielle's face on the poster. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know about that, but made it on there. Yeah, so Oceania for both Gamma and IMAF, and then obviously you have all the other sections. So, like you have over in America, you have European, you have African, all of those. And of course, like anything else, whether if you win or compete in those tournaments and you win, that helps towards seeding for the World Championships, whether that be IMMAF or GAMMA. Both sort of operate under that same platform where you work in a seeded format. Obviously, the current champion from the year before would generally be seeded the highest. All of your regional champions will be seeded underneath that, and that obviously goes into when they're doing the draws for the World Championships with the current champion or the highest seeded person or people getting any buys in the first round through the first day of competition, usually, or at least the first round, depending on how many fights there are. There's quite a lot of notable people even in the UFC now that have come through these platforms of either IMMAF or GAMMA.
People who are now in the UFC, there are some notable people who viewers of our kind of content will know, guys who are on the come up who did very well in IMMAF and GAMMA. And yes, I'd like to hear about some of the familiar faces that maybe we didn't know were as familiar as they are.
Yeah, so obviously IMMAF has been around a bit longer than GAMMA. So when we look at people in the UFC right now, they're predominantly from IMMAF. Some of them might have done both, but a lot of them are from IMMAF. So you've got Shavkat, Peter Yan, Umar, Nurmagomedov, Amanda Hebus, and Manon. So that's a few of the people that have come through that IMMAF and are now pretty successful in the UFC. There's plenty more. There's plenty more.
Well, every person on that list has either is going to fight for a world title, has fought for a
Has
world
fought for a
title, or
title.
is a world champion.
Yeah, correct. And then when we look at sort of the Australia, New Zealand professional scene, a lot of these people have, either had a red hot start to their professional career off the back of going to these events, or are working through the big promotions. So if we look at New Zealand, you've got Michelle Montague, who's just been signed to the UFC. We all remember the best fight of regional MMA with Kevin Cophamel. He went to GAMMA the same year I did and then went again last year. You got Finey Mosqueda. She has fought regionally and also in one. She's undefeated. She was IMMAF. Annie Thatcher from GAMMA. Colby Thickness, who's now in the UFC, did IMMAF. I believe he did the Oceania tournament. And we had Marwan Rahiki, who will be on Contender Series, did GAMMA. Seb Zaleh, now he did GAMMA the same year I did as well and has been absolutely smashing it on Road to UFC. We have Joey Luciano, he did IMMAF. We had Ailish Smith and Jacinta Austin, who both did the IMMAF. I think Ailish did Worlds and Oceania, but those two actually competed for the first time way back in the amateurs on the IMMAF Oceania scene. And that was before Jacinta had ever even trained any MMA. She went there for a kickboxing tournament and they asked her if she wanted to step in and have a fight against Ailish. And Ailish took that win, as you would expect with someone that hasn't trained MMA yet. And then obviously they go on to have a pretty crazy fight in the pros in MMA a handful of years later. So the storylines run deep. We've also got Steve Ersic from GAMMA, who fought for a UFC title. A couple other names: Fergus Jenkins, IMMAF and Kaseb Murdoch, Lawrence Louet from New Zealand, IMMAF. The Mayochi brothers did IMMAF, and the Jankowski brothers did GAMMA. And of course, Courtney Martin was the first one to not only win a gold medal at GAMMA, but she also got a one contract directly from competing in GAMMA. So, and there's plenty more. There is so many more, and it's really awesome to see so many amateurs and then even into the professionals going and competing in these world tournaments, representing Australia, and going on to have a lot of success in their professional careers.
And one name that I think you left off the list there was the great Danielle Drop Bear Curtis. Not only competed but won the World Games.
It's
As
up
you can,
there somewhere.
you can see
Oh,
it
oh,
there.
look,
Up,
up
up,
there.
up.
Yeah,
There we
it's
go.
up there. You guys got it.
But I wanted to later in the video, we're going to talk to someone who's competing at this upcoming games for IMMAF, which we'll explain that in a moment. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your experience, and then you can talk to Erin about it, and maybe you guys can compare a little bit because Erin's done it before. But what was it like for you to go over for Gamma, and what is the whole process? Like you mentioned, something that I think people would be interested in, particularly you mentioned you have to make weight every day. So like
Correct.
people know about weight cutting and all that stuff. So what is that process like?
Oh, well, competing at Gamma was life changing, to be honest. First international fighting experience, dealing with travel and all of those kind of things. Obviously, it's a little bit different than regular competition because you don't know who your opponents are going to be yet. Like, you know who is in your weight division, but they don't do the draw until everybody's there. So you get there, you do have to weigh in even the first day before you even start competing, medicals, all of that kind of stuff. And you're all in this one giant hotel together. So there's just hundreds of athletes all walking around you. Can't, and it's such a, the first couple of days is such a strange feeling because everybody's kind of eyeballing each other. So I was thinking, oh, do you think they're in my division? And even just sort of, everybody's in their kits, their Australia gear or their whatever country they're from. And it's so much fun. There's a lot of emotions and so much going through your mind and so much to take in. Um, Making weight every day, obviously, sometimes you will see, well, the majority of the time, you won't compete necessarily in the division you usually compete in because if you cut weight, it's very difficult to do that multiple days in a row while also competing because you may have multiple fights on a single day. So I think you can usually have up to 3 fights a day for a few days. Like, and if you're doing that running on fumes, you're probably not going to be that successful. So I think most people go up a weight division when competing in these kind of tournaments, which is pretty standard. Even then, some people you will see trying to cut weight in the sauna every morning, which is, I mean, it's your choice. I don't think it's that successful, but I mean, this is part of how I managed to win titles in multiple different weight divisions as well. But I think the experience is there's nothing else like it. Fighting in a tournament format changes everything because you can't just think about the one fight. You've got to think about the fact that you need to limit damage and fight multiple times over multiple days. You're also warming out in the same big area with your opponent before you guys walk out. So, like, you're both in the same area warming up. So, you need to be able to block that out and not watch what they're doing. And you also generally won't sort of show what you're going to do. You might talk about it quietly. Um, and then so for me, my first round ended up being fighting someone that was from New Zealand. That, as an Australian, we kind of had an Anzac group or an Oceania group, and we all had dinner together the night before, and we're all chatting and all of those kind of things. And then the next day, you find out I flew halfway across the world to fight someone from, you know, across the ditch. So it's a little disappointing in that regard, but I understand why they do it. Like at the end of the day, for me, it is what it is, and you just got to make the most of it. So those kind of things happen too, where you potentially fight people if you, because every country can take 2 athletes in each division. And so generally what they will do is they will always put the same countries, if you do take multiple athletes, on the same side of the draw, so that you can't have the possibility of 2 of the same country in the finals. So that means if you do take 2 people in the same weight division, if both are successful, you will fight each other prior to the gold medal, like fairly early on, usually within the first 3 fights. So there's that aspect of it too. Yeah, but anyway, amazing, wonderful experience. The year I went, they only had one quite small room for people to sort of do training in. And I remember when the Australia team poked our head in there, it was just chockers. So we actually just did a typical Australian thing and went, oh, it's sunny outside. Let's put our shoes on and we'll go warm up. We'll go and have a training session together just across the road on this big open dirt, kind of like, it wasn't a park, but it was just kind of like a big nature section. And we trained outside the day before the competition.
And this was in the Netherlands.
It was in the Netherlands, yes.
So, sorry, continue.
I was going to say, lucky for us that day, the weather had turned it on a bit for us. It wasn't absolutely freezing. It was pretty cold when we first got there, but we made the most of it.
There's 2 things about the travel I wanted to bring up. And we'll talk about first things first. You talk about, if you bring someone from the same weight class as you, you guys will probably have to fight each other very early on. Because it's not a thing where, and this obviously we're getting the gamma perspective, we can get the IMMAF perspective from Erin, but it's not just a bunch of people that get to show up with their team. You're not like, and I'll bring my guys, and then you guys bring your guys, and like 90 people aren't showing up. So, like, who's over there with you? Who's coaching you? How is that working? Do you have anything to do with these people before they're cornering you in a fight?
So when I went, everyone except me had their regular coaches.
Why?
I think just because those people had nominated or, had attended an Oceania or whatever. Whereas I was the only one from my gym. And obviously with either of these 2 events, they are self-funded. So it was myself and Jared, my partner, that went. And yeah, that was a whole experience for me as well, having to learn a coach's voice on the fly to listen out for, especially in a tournament format where there are multiple fights all happening in a very small space all at the same time. So you're not even just listening out, blaring out the crowd for your coach. I'm actually blurring out multiple coaches and multiple noise to try and hear. But even just doing a training session, doing a warm up, the coaches don't necessarily know you and you don't necessarily know them, but you make it work and you try to be coachable. And I think that was a pretty awesome experience, honestly. And you bond with those set of athletes and people, because when you go over there representing a country together and you're all those athletes, a lot of Olympic athletes talk about the same thing, that you will bond with those other people, even if they potentially are going to be fighting you at some point or not. Like you get around it. It's that Aussie spirit and pride, and you go and do everything you can to help them warm up and watch their fights and get footage of them, and just it's a really cool vibe, really cool atmosphere, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, I guess, everyone has in the back of their mind, even if you weren't planning on being an athlete or something, but just the thought of how cool it would be to represent your country in something is definitely alive and well when you go to these kind of events.
It's not even conscious, but I do realize I'm wearing a national team jersey right now, but it was not conscious. I just grabbed something out of my closet. Um, you mentioned it there. That was going to be the second question I asked, is that because this is it's not exactly like a volunteer program, but you need to be like, I'll do it. Like, you self-nominate. There's a board, there's a selection process, especially if you win like a regional tournament, it helps you. You're probably going to get selected. Um, you
I think
mentioned
there's
it's,
two aspects though, because I didn't actually nominate. I got contacted to be a part of the team that year. So I think it just kind of depends. But obviously, if you've done an Oceania or something else, then you're probably on that contact list, or you've probably already nominated to do one of those things. I think it's a bit of both.
did you know, we're making this video to try to explain to people what IMMAF and GAMMA are, because although certain people know what it is, there's plenty of people who aren't fully aware.
Hmm.
Did you know what GAMMA was before you got
Yeah, I
asked to do
did.
it?
Yeah, because I watched it the first year that it had run, and to be honest, it was something that I was like, I would love to do that, but I just did not have the money to do it. And so I think I yeah, I definitely knew about both of them, to be honest, and I wanted to do either of them. But that is one of the probably biggest barriers to entry for a lot of our AMIs is, you're not being paid, and you're probably early on into your career. So the cost is hard. It's hard to deal with. Personally, I actually did a GoFundMe type thing, and that was a very crazy experience to find out that there were people that believed in me enough to donate money. And so I think that gave me a bigger sense of uh not sense of achievement, but sense of, doing this for more than me, going over there, representing Australia, but also representing all the people that believed in me. And I think that that's kind of, amplified by the fact that you're representing Australia. And I feel like everyone kind of felt like that, even if you maybe weren't born in Australia, but you live in Australia and you got the opportunity to represent Australia. Um, I definitely think it's just one of those once in a lifetime things that is awesome. And everybody kind of gets that same feeling when you're there. Very patriotic, I guess.
I understand that amateur, so much of an amateur career is not knowing really who your opponent is. You don't really figure out who your opponents are until you're both at the end of your amateur careers, and that's because that's when people grow a rep. But when you're flying to the other side of the planet to fight a stranger, except for one of the matches, you did know the person and you were like, ah, damn. But
Yeah, but you don't know that you're going to fight them until you're there. So you can't
exactly.
prepare either which way.
But how, like, what is it getting in there against a stranger and being like, hope they're not good at whatever I'm not great at or whatever? Like, you're just like, man, I hope they don't do some crazy shit.
Well, that is a great point. So obviously with the way technology is now, once you get the draw, or even when you like, I think a lot of people were stalking their divisions and the people in their divisions before they went, even if it was like 60 people. Um, I think when the draws come out, because you can sort of see the whole bracket. So if I beat this person, I'm either going to match up either of these people. And then, so people do start trying to look and try to get some information on the fly and try and still, game plan or get a sense of what they might be good at. But I think that is also one of the most influential parts of going over there is obviously dealing with the mindset and dealing with the unknowns, but also in terms of developing your skill and your fight IQ, that you're not going in there rehearsed with a perfect game plan. You have to see, adapt, make changes on the fly when you're fighting these people. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that these kind of tournaments can teach you is you could have the perfect coach and the perfect game plan. But what happens if you don't have that coach? What happens if your opponent has changed something? You personally need to develop your fight IQ to be a successful fighter so that you can make those changes and adaptations mid-fight where needed. And I think this format definitely helps you to do that, because you can't really stalk and come up with solidified game plans for anyone. And I think what it forces you to do is figure out what you're good at and try to force the fights to go where you want to take it. Obviously, game planning for tournament format is a little bit different than if you were just flying somewhere to have a fight and you just didn't know the opponent, it was only a single fight, because you also have to take into account, to some degree, limiting damage.
How does it change how you approach a fight?
Well, that is definitely the main factor. You want to limit damage where possible. You want to essentially, you want to win as fast as you can. So again, to limit damage, to keep you in as best shape as you possibly can be. Um, so for me, when I went over, I obviously won, and all my fights I finished. So that was kind of the game plan: try and find a finish as fast as you can to limit damage. And so you'll see, generally, the more experienced people will try and find an opportunity to grapple. And the reason doing so is, if you take someone down and you're on top of them, you're generally not getting damaged as much. Yes, you're still having a fight. Yes, they can still throw from the bottom, but usually the strikes and things coming from the bottom aren't as damaging as if it was that 50-50 scenario where you're both on the feet. So you will see a lot. I think that tournament does force people to work on their grappling a little bit more as well, even if you are a striker, unless you're just amazingly good and you're able to still knock people out with shin guards and big gloves, which happens in these tournaments as well.
And talking about these tournaments, IMMAF, the World Championships are coming up. They will be held in Georgia from September 27th to October 2nd. Uh,
The
these are
countdown is on,
the
only a few
countdown
weeks away.
is on, absolutely. It is the 2025 World Games. So as we mentioned earlier, there are these, the different tournaments from around the world. These are the World Games. These are for all the marbles, as they say. And Australia is sending four athletes to represent us. We are sending Bahas Amin, who is fighting as a junior. So, another aspect of IMMAF, at least, is there are kind of three age brackets. There's youth, which is under 18. There is juniors, which is 18 until 20. And then there is seniors, which is 20 or 21 and up.
Seniors are technically 18 plus. So if you are in the 18 to 20 year range, I believe you can choose. It's to offer another middle division opportunity, especially if this is potentially your first IMMAF, you're fresh 18-year-old, maybe you don't have heaps of experience, or more so, I think, to be honest, it probably is there to appease the parents who are worried about their 18 or 19-year-old going out there and competing with a, mid-30 person. Not that you guys and I all know that that's not the way that the sport particularly works, especially we're seeing younger and younger people come through and be very successful at all levels. But, with anything, I think it's appeasing the parents or the people that might have a negative perception of something like this, and providing that middle bracket, especially because they're looking to get this into the Olympics as well.
Well, I think
And in other countries, some countries 18 is not an adult.
Well, I think Bahas completely exemplifies that in that as an under 18 he participated in the youth IMMAF that was earlier this year. Between now and then, he has turned 18, and so now he's doing the World Games. So I think that guy perfectly sums up the like in the middle period where it was like
Exactly.
earlier this year you were competing against children, and now you could be competing against like a 30-year-old guy. So that's, I think, the perfect example as to why that category, if we're going to call it that, exists. And he will be competing in the lightweight division. And then our senior team, which is being
Yeah,
held
the
down by
girls.
all the girls.
All the
YTG.
girls.
Yeah, the girls. We're
We'd
sending,
love to see it.
we do love to see it, starting with Jess Wood, who will be competing at flyweight, representing Australia. Renee Kosh, who will be competing at bantamweight and representing Australia. And Erin Carter, who puts the senior in senior, coming in at 23 years old, 1 week older than me, old woman, uh, fighting at lightweight. We will be talking to her in just a few moments. Uh, but that is our team. We are sending 4 athletes to represent us. They will be competing over in Georgia for the world games. It is a tournament, as we've already explained through this. There is a draw. They will be competing against some people they maybe know from previous years, some new faces. Some people, this will be their first games. For some people, it'll be a second game.
That's it. I'm excited for them. I'm excited to see more females doing it and that we have an all-female senior team heading over for IMMAF. Obviously we talked about Erin has been previously. She went as a youth, I think, or a junior previously. And she managed to bring home a silver medal. So I'm sure that she's looking to top that one and bring home the gold.
And yes, we are very happily or happy, both happily joined and happy to be joined by a lady who is competing uh, in this upcoming IMMAF World Games. We are talking to Miss Erin Carter. Erin, I thank you very much for joining both myself and Danielle. Uh, how is your Sunday?
It's going good. It's going good. Father's Day, so presents in the morning. Breakfast. That's about it, really. I'm
That's
just
a nice
chilling.
shirt you've got there, Erin.
Adversity is a privilege.
Bro,
Volkanovski.
you
Yeah.
you are this is obviously going to be a more IMAF based thing. But you are a lady who has gone over a fair amount of adversity in her time. How is it to be back? How is it to be back where you were not too long ago? Obviously a bit different, but how is it to be back?
Yeah, it feels great, honestly. There was a time when I was going over, obviously I've had 4 knee surgeries, so overcoming that was really it was hard, you know what I mean? It was like 3 years of up and down, 4 surgeries, having it's the same injury, so 2 different surgeons, and then yeah, coming back to had my comeback fight, a beat down in March, and then yeah, now I got the IMMAF in end of September. So yeah,
How did the mind go throughout all of that, and how did the mindset go returning, and then does that flow into returning to IMAF?
um, the mindset, um, it was hard. You know what I mean? Like there were days where I thought I'd never get back to the position I'm in now. Yeah, but once I feel like having that comeback fight has helped my confidence in lead up to this IMAF, if that makes sense. So, um,
Do you
yeah,
think having experience facing adversity will help you in the tournament format? I know you have experience having gone to IMAF before, which
yeah,
you'll obviously draw on, but
yeah,
especially with the whole you don't know who you're going to be facing yet, you have to be able to deal with adversity and change.
yeah,
Do you think that's helped you or is going to
definitely,
help you?
definitely. I think, yeah, I definitely think it's going to help. I think, shit, I'm not going to do all this. I'm terrible at interviews. Um, yeah, it's definitely given me a different confidence, I feel like, if I can overcome what I've overcome, nothing's going to stop me. Um, yeah, it doesn't matter what they put in front of me, just I'm going to be able to overcome it. Because obviously there was days where I thought I wasn't going to overcome this surgery, that surgery, and then I got through it, and yeah, so I honestly feel like nothing's going to stop me, and yeah, doesn't matter what you throw at me.
There's not much worse that can happen in the cage, right?
No.
You've already faced all those demons.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. No, but looking back on it, I'm very grateful it happened. Obviously, going through it, I mean, I was like, why is this happening to me? This and that, and this shouldn't have happened. Like, but now looking back on it, and I'm very grateful it happened, and it's definitely given me confidence moving forward. So, yeah,
Now, something like that happening derails so much.
yeah,
I'm not sure if you're. I think I've seen snippets of things. I don't know if it's a conversation we've ever had. I don't know if you're like a What's the word I'm looking for? Like a manifest person. I don't know if you had like a I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that.
yeah,
But it derails so much. You're out when you're in the thick of it. You don't know how long you're gone. Was
yeah.
were you always planning on doing a second IMAF?
Yes, because obviously, so my last IMMAF was 2022, I think. So it was the 2021 World Championships, but they held it in 2022 because of COVID. I think we just overcome COVID then. So they had the 2021 IMMAFs in January 2022. And obviously I was a junior then, so I had a straight final just because I had a few girls in my group, but they all pulled out because of COVID and no one wanted to travel overseas and no one wanted to get the vaccination, this and that. So I had a straight final against Russia. And I lost that split points, and it was a decision where I don't know, it was real close. Like you're never going to beat a Russian, you know what I mean, by decision over and overseas. So I thought I won, didn't get the win, lost split points. And straight after that, I was like, I want to do another one. And then, a few weeks later, I couldn't get any MMA fights. So I did the boxing Commonwealth Games selection trials. Did that in March. Had 3 fights. Again, lost split points in the final. I could have gone to the Commonwealth Games. Again, it was a decision. I thought I won. I fought a girl named Kay Scott, so she's pretty well known on the boxing Australian scene. Lost split points. Anyway, come straight back into training, and I was like, I want to do the World Championships at the end of 2022, the official 2022 World Championships. Do that anyway. Come back to training. I think it was like 2 days after that comp, I blew my knee out. So you know what I mean? I was out for a year. I was like, no worries. I'll fucking rehab it. I'll be back in a year. Um, yeah, did about 3 months of rehab, and I was looking at my leg, and I was like, something doesn't feel right. Like I couldn't straighten my knee. I was walking around with a limp. I knew something was wrong, so I went back to the surgeon. Turns out I had like Cyclops lesions in my knee, so it's just like scar tissue. So it's supposed to be a simple procedure, get it fixed up, cleared up. Anyway, so I had that surgery. And then I saw the nurse the week after, and they're like, "Oh, you should be able to straighten your knee. Like this surgery was supposed to fix your knee." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." Anyway, I didn't think much of it. Couldn't straighten my leg. And yeah, it just didn't feel right. 6 months later, it still wasn't going well. Saw another surgeon, and that's when the other two surgeries had to happen, and I had to get the whole thing redone just because of that. So that's been my timeline for the last whatever 3, 4 years. Yeah.
And
And then
was
got to now and doing this World Championship. So the goal was always the World Championships, just obviously it's been delayed till 2025. Yeah.
was that come back and make IMAF? Has that been? I'm going to use the phrase like the guiding star. Has that been like the this is what I want to do?
Yeah, of course. It's the World Championships. You know what I mean? Who doesn't want to be a world champion? Like I want to be a world champion since I was little. And I've obviously won a world title in kickboxing back in 2017. But it was again, I only had 2 fights, you know what I mean? It was sort of it wasn't the best organization. There's so many kickboxing organizations. So, I feel like IMMAF, there's only two promotions for MMA. There's IMMAF and GAMMA, you know what I mean? And IMMAF is just what I sort of fell into. Like there's a few guys from my gym before that who've done IMMAF, so that's why I got into it. So yeah, to be a world champion, that's sort of the what I'm aiming for, to do that as an amateur and a pro. So yeah.
And if you had the opportunity, would you consider potentially doing both? If you go out win IMMAF this year, would you consider doing Gamma and potentially winning both?
I would. I just don't know. I don't know if they like it. I don't know if the promotions like you cross, you know what I mean? Seems
Yeah, I
so.
feel like it's more one way than it is the
Or
other
the
way.
other, yeah. Yeah.
But that,
Yeah.
could be a claim to fame as well. And I think that
Yeah, that'd
there's
be cool.
strengths. There's both comps are so good and they offer just so much experience. And one thing Joel and I were talking about, which you've kind of expressed as well, is that it's so hard to find fights regionally as a
Yeah.
female, and that you do these tournaments because you're gonna at least
Get the fights. Yeah.
get fights. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but I guess the other thing is, IMAF is all Amis and it's been around for quite some time. It's got lots of
Yeah.
big names out of it.
Yeah.
And then obviously Gamma is the pro-am. So the potential that you're going to maybe face some pros before you turn pro.
Yeah.
But certainly getting an IMAF gold medal on the resume would be a big step
Oh,
towards
it'd be
going
it'd be
pro.
awesome. It's
Uh,
so cool. Hey, I think they do belts now for it too. So yeah,
they
that would
do,
be
or
pretty cool.
they did last year. I'm
Yeah.
assuming they will this year as
I
well.
hope so.
So
I haven't seen any posts about it, so I'm like, man, they better not pull this from under me. God, that's all right.
it'll be the
If
first of many.
Oh, yeah.
if we can rewind the clock to late late 2021, so
Yeah.
pre the first time you did IMAF,
Yeah.
um, conversations we've had, I've heard with other things, I feel like there's a lot of martial arts experience and a lot that the public doesn't know about. If someone's scrolling through and they see, or they go to a like a tapology, that's just the MMA stuff. You've already talked about some boxing experience you've had.
Yeah.
Had you traveled and fought much prior to IMAF?
Yeah, I've traveled a bit. So my first international competition was back in 2017 at the Kickboxing World Championship. So competed over there, represented Australia. I won 3 gold medals and a bronze there. And then I think my next international competition was 2019 in Thailand. So that was at the fourth International Thai Games Festival. Had 4 fights over there, 4 wins, fought at 67, 71, 71, and 84. And I weighed in at 65 the whole tournament. So just to get fights, I sort of fought between those weights. But um, yeah, I think, and then obviously the World Championships in 2021 in the UAE. So I think that's 3 places. Oh, and New Zealand. I fought in New Zealand actually. I fought Michelle Montagu for the Australasian title back in 2021, I believe. So yeah,
She's also an IMAF graduate as well.
she's awesome, eh? She's so good. Yeah, she's
Yeah,
just been signed to the UFC as well. I think she
yep.
makes her pro debut at the end of the month on the
In
Perth
Perth.
card. Yeah, yeah. No, she's a weapon.
So it's something that you're not unfamiliar with, traveling to fight, going to international shows. But what was going to IMAF? Where was your IMAF?
I'm at the UAE.
So you went off to the UAE to compete.
Yeah.
What was it like? What was it like getting there? What were the emotions? What was
Oh
it
my.
literally like? Like, take us through it.
So we went in peak COVID time. So we traveled down in the car. So there was a few of us. I traveled down with Coach. I think Ryan Bishop, someone else. Anyway, we got to the airport. We all had to do a what's it called? A
Rat.
PCP, yeah, rapid test, PCR, whatever it's called, test. We all sat in the lounge. You needed a negative result to be able to fly. We're all sitting in the lounge together, talking. We start getting text messages through. Bing, bing, bing. Ryan Dunstan's got positive. He's got COVID. We all traveled down in the same car with one another. Anyway, I was the last one to get my text message and it was negative. I was like, how the hell does that work? So anyway, I had to, walk through customs about my coach. He's sick, couldn't come at the airport, travel over to the UAE. They picked us up from the airport. We had to travel. think we landed in Dubai and we had to get a bus over to the UAE. Anyway, got to the border. They wanted to check that we had a COVID pass. They come on the bus with like machetes and bloody checking our passes. Got to the hotel. We were told we had one day to get whatever food, water, whatever we needed because we weren't going to be allowed out of the hotel once we there. They're going to be in a bubble like the Olympic Games. So yeah, we were stuck in the hotel. We were only allowed to go from the hotel to the venue. Couldn't do any exploring, going to the shops to get food, water, this and that. We had to order like Uber Eats if we needed food or just use the hotel food. Anyway, I had the straight final, so I didn't compete till the second last day because I was a junior. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Had the fight, lost, and then yeah, straight back. I think I shouldn't say this, but we snuck out on the last day. We did like Ferrari World, this and that. We told them we were going to go watch the seniors, but yeah, we snuck out and yeah, did a little bit of exploring.
Danielle had not in regards to the COVID stuff, but something I wanted to bring up with you, Erin. Danielle had a somewhat similar experience where she didn't get to go over with a coach,
Yeah,
whereas a lot of other people got their coach to come over with them.
yeah.
How was that like? Had you ever fought without your coach in your corner?
So I've had sort of. So my boxing coach, Mark Evans, I'm not with him anymore, but I was competing. I was boxing out of his gym. There'd been a few fights where like you make the Queensland team, you go over to like Adelaide or this and that, and you don't have your home coach. You have whatever the state coaches. So I'd sort of experienced it before, but I feel like with MMA, there's so much you need your home coach there. Well, that's just me personally. I feel better when you know what I mean, someone who knows you is there. They know how to make you tick and yeah, get you over the line. So I did struggle. It was hard. You know what I mean? Because then you like, even though like Brian Eversole is really experienced as a coach, you sort of like, oh, I don't know if to trust them or they don't really know my style, this or that. So you don't know. So yeah, it was different. But I had Ryan Bishop over there. He was one of my teammates. So he caught COVID too when we were at the airport, but he had a positive test a few days later. So he was able to get on the plane and come over and help corner me, but still it's not the same as your coach.
Even the phrasing is different. Even like the difference between someone saying jab, straight, hook or saying one,
Yeah.
2, 3. Like
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
such a big thing, and listening out for a different voice than what
Yeah.
you're used to. And there's multiple fights all happening at the same
Yeah.
time. And it's a lot.
Yeah. Hectic.
I also went in 2022, which was the 2021.
Yeah.
What month did you go? Because I had an interesting COVID. It was COVID times for me as well.
Yeah.
But I think because I went to a different country, it was a little bit different.
Yeah. We went in January, end of January.
That's
Yeah.
why we went in March. So we
Okay.
did the same thing, COVID tests,
Yeah.
masks 24/7
Yes.
everywhere. But in Amsterdam, the day after we got there, they stopped all their QR codes and masks and everything. So once we got there, we were okay. But
Yeah.
same
And now
kind of thing
COVID's
at
not
the
even a
airport.
thing. Like we didn't even need to do all that. I didn't need to get the vaccination. Oh God.
The
Anyway,
things we do to
coach gonna
represent our
come.
country. Yeah.
Crazy, yeah.
But I was saying to Joel that, I think that's another cool thing, learning to be coachable, like a coachable athlete by someone that's not your coach is, again, another crazy learning experience that
Yeah.
you wouldn't get elsewhere. And it teaches you to, I guess, develop your own fight IQ to make decisions, whether or not, what someone's yelling at you is a good decision for you
Yeah.
or not. So lots of really good
It'll happen
experience, it
for a
sounds.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a learning curve.
Yeah. Brings you like there, you'll head into, I think the difference is you're going to head into this IMMAF having experienced everything. I don't think there's really going to be anything different that this one will be able to throw at you. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I'm not jinxing you, I swear.
COVID too.
COVID too. Oh gosh, don't say that.
Done some forgetting his passport.
Don't even. It would fall out of his pocket again, like it did in America.
I'm a bit worried, eh? I don't know if we're gonna have to look after him on this one.
I think you're gonna keep a hold of it.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to hold on to that. No offense,
Yeah.
Dunstan. I know he's watching.
One of those stretchy things on your hip. Here you go. You can use it to go through the scanner.
Yeah. Where did he get stuck? He got stuck in San Francisco, wasn't it? Lost his passport in San Francisco coming home. Yeah, it was stuck.
Love you,
Oh
Dunstan.
God. Yeah.
So much of an amateur career isn't really knowing what your opponent's going to do because they're also figuring out. You're
Yeah.
like two people going in there without really an idea. Um, some people can approach fights, like that, especially like an IMMAF or a GAMMA, like a world tournament. You don't really know who you're fighting. But based off conversations you and I have had, you're someone who you are doing like a little bit of research. You kind of know. Is there anyone that you have crossed paths with before, were at previous IMAFs, or like, can you give us any insight into who you might be matching up with?
Yeah, so it's on Smooth Comp, so you can see who's entered in your division. You just don't know the bracket, so to say. So you don't know, what I mean, who you're going to be fighting. This person's going to lose. So I've got two girls from Angola, one from Ukraine, one from Finland, me, and a girl from Georgia. So obviously, the IMAF did have an IMAF TV, but they seem to, I think they've got a new broadcast or something. So all the old fights have been deleted. So I can't see any of these girls' fights. But obviously, you got Instagram, Facebook now. You can sort of do a little bit of stalking. I know the Finland girls won it at youth and junior, so they're sort of hyping her up to win it at senior. She's probably the best one in the group, I'd say. But yeah, she's probably the best one. She's 6-0, so
So it's
yeah.
likely she'll get seeded number one if she already holds previous titles and will
Yeah,
likely get a bye if there's a bye in the first
yeah,
round.
yeah. And I think Ukraine's won it at 77, the Euros or something. So she'll probably have the other end, and I'll probably fight Angola or the Georgian chick, I'm guessing.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it
How
just depends how it
much
plays out.
how much stock do you put into your opponent's performances or things like that? Like, you can have a squiz, you can have a look, who are these people? What are they kind of about? But like,
Yeah.
how much are you like really caring about that?
Um, I mean, I like to watch tape. I like to see, I mean, if they're South or Orthodox, if they're more of a grappler, more of a striker. I do like to have a rough idea on what they're going to bring. But I feel like I've had so many fights now. I'm less and less worried about it. You know what I mean? It's more like what I'm going to do, what they're going to have to stop, what they're going to have to do to stop me. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I don't really. Just the basics, you know what I mean? What stance they are, grappler, striker, and then I feel like I've had enough experience to sort of figure out when I'm in there yeah.
This is going over and repping Oz. It's a very weird thing, IMAF and where MMA sits in kind of the social. I don't know if consciousness is the word, but you get to go over and rep Australia for IMAF. Danielle got to go over and rep Australia for GAMMA. But you need to pay your own way. You need to kind of sort yourself out with regarding
Yeah,
those things. So how are you covering this? How are you getting yourself to Georgia?
go fund me. Yeah, go fund me. Obviously, I work at food work, so I still live at home, so obviously that helps with saving. But yeah, go fund me and trying to get. It's so hard to get sponsors now. No one has much, well, people do have money, but not too many people want to give it out as much anymore. So I got to go fund me. I got a little money tin going at work. So I live near like a retirement village and the living choice center. So I get a lot of oldies who come in, you know what I mean? There's a lot of them have got a lot of money. So had a customer the other day give me $500 cash to help me with my trip. Like I got some beautiful people who come through my work. So they yeah, I've been pretty lucky.
Erin's
I
getting
think
written into a few wills.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah, just go fund me and the money tin, I guess. But even like they don't pay for the coaches either. So coaches got to do it's ridiculous. There's no government grants or because it's not swimming, tennis, it's that like they don't really care.
And
Yeah.
how does that feel to know that because I know this was a life-changing moment for me when I went because I
Yeah.
had to do the same thing, and I think almost everyone that goes over does a GoFundMe type type deal. But how does it feel for you knowing that there is people that believe in you and believe
Yeah.
in you so much that they're actually willing to give you money
Yeah.
to watch you chase your dreams?
Yeah, it's super humbling. It makes you feel warm inside. I know when that lady gave me the $500, I started crying. I was like, holy shit, like, oh my God. But yeah, it does make you feel special, and it makes you feel like people do believe in you. And gives you a bit more oomph in your training, to make those people proud, and what I mean, give it your all. So, if you give it your all, they're going to be proud of you no matter what. So,
And did you have to do the same thing the first time you went?
yes, yeah.
Yep.
I had a sponsor back then, but he doesn't sponsor me now anymore. So he did help me pay for a bit of the trip, but yeah, this time just go fund me money tin.
And I guess that's the thing other people probably don't understand. Again, as we said, other sports you get selected to represent the country,
Yeah.
really paid for. Whereas this is self-funded, not only to get over there, but also there is a registration fee
Oh, yeah.
incurred as well. And then usually you're buying your country's the sort of team kit and those
Yeah.
kind of things as well. And then of course, along with travel, you might have travel insurance, whether you have medical stuff, and even just all of the medical bills for getting all your medical checks to be able to go over there and that kind of stuff. I don't think people realize how expensive it actually is. So
Yeah.
You have to
How
buy
much
the
was
kits.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh no,
yeah.
not this one.
Oh,
Cage Kit are doing that one. So
oh,
I think they
good.
sponsored it for us, and they're sending us all our kits. So that was nice
That's
of them.
nice. Shout
Yeah.
out to Cage Kit.
Yeah.
That's what we love to
So good.
see.
And it's a pretty cool uniform. I can't wait to rep it, and yeah, it's gonna be sick. But yeah, how much was your registration fees for Gamma?
Nowhere near as expensive as yours.
Yeah. Shit.
Erin's deciding to change.
Yeah.
There's a difference there as well, is that where the backing comes from in both of these. And
Yeah.
obviously with Gamma being pro-am, there's also prize money on the line for winners now as
Yeah.
well. But it's either way still worth it for the experience.
That's it, eh? Yeah.
Yeah,
To be a
both
world
of them.
champion, it's yeah.
Be a world champion and to do it in that sort of Olympic style format, as much
Yeah.
as it's funny, as much as a medal maybe isn't, you don't think it's as cool as a belt, there's
Yeah.
also nowhere else that you can get a medal. So
That's it. Yeah.
you have to win sort of that Olympic style format. And I think that's
Yeah.
a kind of a big deal. But
I know.
yeah, I was going to ask something about how did you enjoy the actual, like, obviously we take the COVID part out of it, being stuck in the
Yeah.
bubble, but that experience, I know you've kind of done it in other formats of going, competing in like a world tournament, being there amongst all the other athletes, and then potentially looking around when you get there, like, are they in my division? Is that
Yeah.
the person? And just sort of seeing everybody kind of eyeing each other off in the first couple of days versus like, I think it kind of gets a bit chiller as you go through. But what was that like for you? And was there much difference between the MMA version versus when
Yeah.
you like kickboxing?
Yeah. I think they're pretty similar. You know what I mean? Like it's similar between kickboxing, MMA, all the sort of round robin competitions I've done. But I love it. That's something I'm gonna miss when I turn pro is, I mean, just the atmosphere these world championships create. Yeah, it's something I'm gonna miss. But it's just, to see all the teams there, they're all talking their own language, doing the cheers, fucking yeah, it's something I'm gonna miss when I turn pro. But the atmosphere is unbelievable. You got a big venue, you got like 5 cages set up. It was same with kickboxing, like you've got, the 4 rings set up, this, that, all the countries, team registration, yeah, it's unbelievable, as you know.
Uh, I only cover the sport, and my grandmother wants me to do something else. She's like, "Can't you pick like a nice, better sport that isn't like gross?" The oldies at your work,
Yeah,
but you're like, "I'm raising money to go punch some people's heads in." Are they
yeah.
like, "You seem like such a nice like young lady. Why are you such a monster?" Like, how did the old people at work respond?
So some of them are really supportive. You know what I mean? They're lovely. Others, no. You know what I mean? When I come into work on a Saturday morning with a black eye, they are, yeah, they are not nice to be around. I want to leave. I want to quit my job right there and there. You know what I mean? The looks I get, oh God. Yeah. Sometimes I don't want to be at work when I've got a black eye or bruises, like, why are you doing this? Like, oh, is it worth it? Like, what are you going to do? And obviously I was still working there when I had my knee surgery too. So they're looking at me going, oh, like it's not really worth it, is it? Like you should give it up after this. Like, are you going to go back to it? But yeah, so it's a bit of both. I try not to, what I mean, think too much into it, but yeah.
That hard part when you're at work and you got to keep the smile on your face, like,
Yeah, yeah. You gotta be that person, eh? You gotta be like, oh. In my head, I'm just like, yeah,
move on.
yeah. Thank you. Have a nice day. Yeah, it's all right. It's only really if I'm hurt, you know what I mean? They seem to, or I've got a black eye, they seem to want to say something. If I don't, then they're pretty all right.
Do they ever ask you sort of positive things like how is it going? Are you enjoying it? No,
Not
that's
really.
not it. That
The
doesn't
most
prompt
common question I
conversation.
get is like, oh, what does the boyfriend think of this? And I was like,
Uh,
yeah, that one. That's the number one question.
How is it now as well? You are, of course, you are the definition of senior at 23 and 1 week older than me. So you might as well be built out of dust. Um, but
Jesus
how
Christ.
is that? Listen, bro, I have to take the wins where I can. Bro, any win I can
Am I
take here.
am I extinct or
Bro, a couple listen, we've got a gamma gold medalist on the call.
a
Uh
gamma grandma?
and future IMMAF champ on the call, bro. I have to take
Participation silver medalist right here.
no, no, no. Uh but so I have to take the wins where I can. But how actually like is that different? If I'm not mistaken, the last time you participated, was it as a junior?
It was, yes.
So
Yeah.
how does that change? Because we were talking before we like started the interview portion, and you were telling me youth is no shots to the body. Sorry, no shots to the head, only shots to the body.
Yeah.
Is there any? Do you think it'll be a big difference now, not being a junior, but now being a senior?
I don't think so. I think like in boxing, Muay Thai, I've always fought adults. Um, Even my fights here in Australia, they've all been against chicks, who are 10 years older than me. Like I fought Lisa in my debut. I think she was 27 or 28, I believe, and I was just 18. So I feel like I've always stepped up in competition, fought the older girls. Even when I was doing Taekwondo, I was fighting, I'd fight in my division, like the colored belt division, then I'd ask, the promoter if I could fight up in the black belts and fight the older girls. So I feel like I've always fought, more experienced, older chicks. And it's pretty cool because it's like, I think I'm not the youngest this time. You know what I mean? That Finland chick, I believe, is 18, 19. So, yeah, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference just because of the past experience I've had. So, yeah. I
You
feel
meant
like women aren't really, I feel like maybe men, it makes a bit more of difference, like an 18-year-old to a 27-year-old, whereas I feel like women, I don't know, maybe it's not as different.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
feel
it's
like,
the age thing. I think it's like anything else in terms of, yeah, sure, weight divisions too. But I think even then,
yeah,
because there's a lack of opportunities, there's so much more risk taking
yeah,
as is the norm for
yeah,
women. Like even if you are settled into a weight division, you often get offers for weight divisions here, there, up, down, all over the place, just because that's all there is. So I think
yeah,
it's kind of like that constant of that is considered almost normal for us to
yeah,
fight people way more experience, way less experience, older, younger, heavier, lighter, because
yeah.
just whatever's on the table. And I think that's one thing that you've always done is just fight whoever and whatever
Yeah, you can't be
you think.
picky, eh? There's not enough girls to be, "Oh, I'm not going to fight this person because they're a weight division above me or they're a bit older than me." Like, you just got to take what you can. I feel like that's why I've had so much experience, just because I've just taking whatever fights I've been offered. Like in Thailand, they asked me if I wanted to fight a chick who's weighed in at 85 kilos. And I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. Like yeah,
It's
it's
more
all helped.
experience.
It's all helped me to this point now. And I'm glad looking back on it that I did take those fights, even though I was a bit like, shit, you know what I mean? She's 85 kilos. Like I just weighed in at 65. Like, how am I going to do this? But looking back now, I'm more glad I took them. I don't know if you want to call it risks, you know what I mean? Like took that. This all led me to how good I am now. So
Well, there
yeah,
are only risks until after, right? And then you
that's
realize
it.
there were opportunities.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you sort of surprise yourself, you know what I mean? Like if I can get through that, I can get through anything. Like it's the same with my knee, like just overcoming that. Yeah, overcoming that.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier. You touched on it. I'm not trying to ask any question that looks past what we are talking about, and looks past the upcoming goal.
Yeah,
But earlier in the video, we were doing this thing where we were talking about some of the alumni of Gamma and IMMAF, and
yeah,
there's a good mix of like Danielle wins Gamma, continues to have some amateur fights before going pro.
yeah,
Marwan Rahiki, the end of his amateur career is his Gamma performances, and
yeah,
then he decides to go pro. You touched on going pro earlier. What is, as I said, I'm not trying to, I know you're not looking past this, but
yeah.
like, do you think is this the ending of your amateur career? Do you think you'll come back and have more fights regionally? Like, where does this sit on the amateur journey of Erin Carter?
I'm hoping it is towards the end. I think I'll see how I go because I think I'm looking at free fights here for the IMAF. So I get the free fights, I'll be 6-2, it's 8 fights. I feel, and all my past experience too, I feel like hopefully I've had nearly 40 fights and I feel like I'm still not a professional. So like hopefully do this, win this, and then yeah, turn pro next year. That is the goal. Yeah. If everything goes well.
Obviously, you have, if let's say you win IMAF, you have
Yeah.
3 back-to-back fights over the course of a couple of days. I think the other thing that potentially you might get out of this is you will 100% know that your knee is fine if you
Yeah.
go out there and smash 3 back-to-back fights. And I just feel like that's it. Onwards, upwards. How did you feel after your last fight? And were you able to get rid of any of those sort of like mental blockers or thoughts about it when you're heading into this one now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I feel like I wasn't worried about it going into the fight with Jillian, but it's still like you never know till you're in there. You know what I mean? Like you can say this and that, but you never actually know how it's going to hold up until you're in there. And I remember in training, it was like, I was still a bit worried to throw the left kick. I didn't want to twist on it. Didn't want to do this. But I
It's
feel like
different in fight time because you just do
yes,
it. You're
yeah,
like, well, if I get injured in a fight, I
yeah,
made it to the fight, so
yeah.
it's
But
fine.
now it feels I don't know if it's I know it takes about what's it 16 months till the ligament properly like
Mm.
develops to your knee. So I don't know if it's that or whether it's just a mental thing of me having that fight and now it feels what I mean, like it's perfect, but it gives me no issues now. So I feel like yeah, I got I can throw a left kick now without thinking about it. So
That's a win.
yeah, it's it, hey. Yeah, but no, it gives me no problems.
What does between now and what does between now and heading off to Georgia look like? And when are you heading off to Georgia?
So I'm heading off on the 23rd of this month. 23rd, yeah. We leave at 2 a.m. We
Yeah.
leave at 2 a.m. Yep. Get there, I think the 23rd Georgian because they're 6 hours behind. We get there like 3:30 in the afternoon. In terms of training, it'd just be, I think how long we got 3 weeks. Probably have 2 more sparring sessions and just try and keep fit, keep sharp. Um, yeah, it's pretty much it. I've pretty much done all the hard work. It's just trying to maintain till that, not get injured.
Is your
Yeah, that's
coach
it.
going with you this time?
He is,
Yeah.
yeah. If he doesn't lose his passport,
Yep.
yeah. Yeah, he's coming.
And then are you getting a chance to hang out in Georgia afterwards? Is there going to be any sightseeing or are you coming straight back home?
Nah, coming straight back home. So get there on the 23rd. I think the way the tournament's played out, I think I'll have a straight quarterfinals. So the quarterfinals will be on the Monday. So I've almost got 6 days, you know what I mean, to get over jet lag. You know what I mean? If I hold any water on the plane, that sort of thing, get that off. And then, yeah, we fly home on the 3rd of October. So the finals are on the 2nd of October, fly home on the 3rd. So probably not too much sightseeing, just in case, because it's not the safest place, I'd say, over there.
Well, Erin, I really thank you for joining us. It's awesome to chat with you. The what's it called? LinkedIn and all that. Not LinkedIn. That's how you get jobs. GoFundMe. That's what I'm thinking of. The GoFundMe. That is all in the description below. Uh,
Awesome.
I really appreciate you jumping on and chatting with us.
Thank you. No, I appreciate you doing the interview, guys. It's good to have some exposure. You know what I mean? It's good for someone to give us some exposure.
Bro, how good was the
We try
graphic
our best.
on the Instagram, bro? How good was the Instagram graphic?
They're not bad. Hey, Danielle, I made it. I made that poster.
Joel told me. And look, you'll have to keep us updated. Send us some messages when you're over there when the draw comes out and stuff, and we'll take some of the load. We'll do the graphics that we can chuck out on stories and send to you, so you can chuck out on your stories just about who's on what in what cage and what times and all that. We can do all the conversion stuff just to make it a bit easier for everyone. So
Yeah.
we did say everyone can follow Southern Cross Combat and myself, and we'll do little recaps so people can keep up to date with what's happening over there, because as with anything, please don't annoy the fighters while they're getting ready to fight. But it's even more hectic when it's a tournament format and people are fighting over multiple days and the draw
The
only
multiple
comes out live,
cages
multiple
and yeah.
cages, time zone differences. So
Yeah.
please, guys, limit annoying. You can like send your messages of, best of skill and luck and well wishes, but yeah, don't try and get fighters who are in a tournament to try and tell you when they're on, because they've got 8 billion things going on.
I can't remember what the time difference is between us and Georgia, land of Marab and Ilya. I think it's a 6 hour time difference between Oz, East Coast of Australia, and Georgia. Not to put you on the spot with this, but you did some absolutely fantastic coverage of IMMAF last year, GAMMA this year. Is that something that the people can enjoy by tuning into the Drop Bear Instagram?
Yes, of course. I will be keeping an eye out, and where possible, I will be trying to do some recaps. And don't worry, I think Joel and I might be collabing on that. So make sure to keep an eye out. Southern Cross Combat and
Yes.
obviously my socials, Drop Bear MMA. But we want to keep an eye on these guys. And if you did tune in when I did the GAMMA recaps last year, I was putting up some daily sort of video recaps of how the team were doing, but also putting up the draws as I found them out as well, to kind of let you know what mat or what sort of cage which stream to tune into and those kind of things. We'll be trying to track down all that information for you guys, just to make it easy to find out and pop it in the stories and that kind of stuff. But I think Joel and I's main goal with this video and any other additional coverage that we actually do of the events is just to help gain exposure, explain to everyone what these events are and what they mean and how big they are for our athletes going over there. Obviously, anything where it is the world level and we have people representing Australia is amazing, but just how pivotal these moments are in the careers of our amateur and then moving into professional fighters from, regional Australia and New Zealand. And I think a lot of the people that you see have success in these tournaments are destined for big careers. And even if they don't have success the first time they go or at all, I think it still sets all of these people up for success from the experience of doing these. So the whole goal and the purpose is to give more exposure to our amateurs that are going and competing, but more exposure to the tournaments and the formats and this international level experience pathways that we do have, so that if you are an amateur or a professional for GAMMA and you want to compete internationally and maybe you're having issues, finding fights, maybe you want international experience, maybe you want to test yourselves with some of the other bests from all around the world, these are the kind of formats that you need to be looking into. And these are the kind of pathways that you should be going down, especially prior to going pro. We've seen a lot of these people that we talked about earlier did all of these competitions right before going pro or early into their pro careers, as we've seen with some of the guys that went as a pro back to Gamma. And yeah, it's really, really telling of how much experience and positives that come out of these formats. So yeah, we're going to keep providing some exposure, and hopefully it helps get other people into the sport as well, and it helps you guys keep up to date with the lovely team Australia that are heading over to IMMAF this year.
Anytime there's a fight on and there's Australians or New Zealand's involved, we will be there and we will be caring about it. And another aspect of something, a benefit of doing something like a world game for a Gamma or an IMMAF that I didn't even consider about until just then. I was racking my brain. Um, Good early experience for fighters to travel and fight. Uh,
Absolutely.
I'm going to give an example of a man who had never done that, but still has been kicking it out of the park, smashing it out of the park and kicking goals. The first time Jonathan McAuliffe, UFC welterweight, ever traveled and fought someone was when he fought on the Contender Series in Vegas. He'd never fought outside of Australia before then. I remember talking about to Lisa Kiriakou about the first time she did it, which I believe was when she fought on One Championship. She didn't have a scale, and she couldn't find a sauna that allowed women in. And it's like these
Yeah.
little things you figure out once you go and
Food,
you food,
water loading,
water loading,
like
scales.
it's honestly, again, another positive is international fights, international level opponents. But yeah, traveling to fight. And yes, it's a little bit different because you can choose, it's self-funded. So you could go over as early as you wanted. Or a lot of people are flying in immediately, at the beginning of the comp. But it is all those things you need to think about, because you can't take your house with you. So if you choose to take a scale, well, you need to accommodate that in your luggage. If you also got to take your own training gear, because how are you going to train? So for me, I'm carrying bloody pads because I didn't have a coach either. So I needed to make sure I had enough stuff in case there wasn't, in case I didn't have anyone to help me. Gloves, obviously we still got to take our mouth guards, take our medical documents and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of other things that you can't take your kitchen with you. So fight week strategies, there's only so many water bottles you can carry with you onto the planes and through the airports. You need to strategically plan everything, and you won't always know necessarily whether you're going to have a sauna or you're going to have a bath, or are you going to try and pack one of those sauna blankets? If so, they're very heavy and they take up a lot of space. Yeah, so it's trying to plan all of those things is such a big deal. At least with an IMAF or a Gamma, they've generally thought about this because they're bringing you there. So there will be a place. They'll generally have you in a place that has a sauna, or they provide the information to the closest sauna, or there are uh, they are feeding you. For example, with Gamma, and I think that IMAF is very similar. They provide breakfast and dinner, big buffet situation, so you can go and get whatever you want. But when you're doing that in a fight week for a pro fight, it's here's your flights, here's a room, rest is up to you. So you have to do that research, you have to do that planning, and you have to figure it out, because every single time will be different too. So you're exactly right. Another big learning curve. And water loading on really long flights is not fun.
Danielle, I thank you for joining me for this. I hope the people learnt a little bit more about these international amateur slash pro-am tournaments. Thank you to Erin for joining us. It was a pleasure to talk to her. And keep an eye out for the Australians kicking goals.
Absolutely. Aussies Bringing home the gold. Let's go.